Supreme Court summer begins early this year. Several House Democrats threaten to stay in El Salvador, and the leftist youths target their elders. I'm Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. We knew it was coming. The Supreme Court of the United States is hearing all kinds of cases, oral arguments, issuing decisions left and right in more ways than one. That was evident over the weekend when the Supreme Court ruled a surprise after midnight decision 7-2 with Justices Alito and Thomas dissenting, suggesting that the Trump administration needed to wait just a little bit of a moment here on deporting particular protected classes of illegal immigrants who were brought here under Biden's pseudo-parole program for Venezuelan illegal immigrants, not necessarily a block on the Trump administration using the Alien Enemies Act to deport individuals or to change particular statuses of illegal immigrants, but to hold on just a moment because it's very likely the Supreme Court is going to be making some more definitive rulings on illegal immigration as a whole later in the year. This particular 7-2 decision was likely to keep the Trump administration from ignoring a lower court order, which the Trump administration has contested that lower courts don't have the authority to issue massive nationwide sweeping injunctions. In a 5-4 decision in Monsalvo Velasquez versus Attorney General Pam Bondi, Gorsuch and Roberts sided with the left-leaning Supreme Court justices, ruling that in the case of a 60-day deadline to self-deport from the country, if the deadline falls on a weekend or a legal holiday, then that becomes a 61 or 62-day deadline to give them until the start of the next business day to leave the country without incurring further penalties. This overturned the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals and Board of Immigration Appeals, which had rejected this interpretation. But wait, there's more. The Supreme Court also heard oral arguments yesterday in Mahmoud versus Taylor, a case involving religious parents in Montgomery County, Maryland, seeking the right to opt their elementary school children out of lessons featuring and requiring the students to read LGBTQ-themed storybooks. The dispute centers on Montgomery County Public Schools' 2023 decision to end a previous opt-out policy for these books, including titles like Prince and Knight and Uncle Bobby's Wedding. The parents, represented by the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, included Muslims, Christians, and Orthodox Ukrainians. It argued that the mandatory exposure violates the parents' First Amendment right to freely exercise their religion by conflicting with their faith-based teachings on gender and sexuality. As the Daily Signal's Tyler O'Neill pointed out, one of the most interesting moments in SCOTUS yesterday was when the attorney from Becket noted that all of the clients in the particular declarations of this lawsuit said that the books had to be read by the students. And then Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, arguing that, well, we don't even know that these books are even in the classroom, awkwardly changed the subject. Check it out.
I don't understand how we can do it on this record because we can't know. We don't at this moment, based on the record you've provided, know that these books aren't just sitting on the shelves. And you've said that if that's the case, that's not going to be enough.
I disagree, Your Honor. The record is undisputed. And I, again, will refer you to the district court transcript at 63, where counsel
So you're
said
saying the Fourth Circuit is wrong when it says, quote, we don't have any information about how any teacher or school employee has actually used any of the books.
The Court of Appeals did not dispute that some of the books have to be used, and we have all of the teachers' instructions that the board's not disputed.
I understand that, but the Fourth Circuit made a ruling that we don't know, quote, what any child has been taught in conjunction with their use. So are you saying that you do have affidavits and information about teachers in the classroom and what they've taught children of different ages about these books?
Yes, we do. All of our clients have, in their declarations, they describe which books were going to be read to their children.
Were the clients in the classroom?
They were not in the classroom, but they know. And again, we don't have to wait until the injury has happened to get relief. The point of a preliminary injunction is that we can, when the injury is imminent, we can seek relief.
All right,
to
let me
stop
ask
it from
you
happening
another.
before our children's innocence is destroyed.
let me ask you another series of questions because I'm just trying to understand the implications.
House Democrats have also traveled down to El Salvador to protest the imprisonment of El Salvador citizen and former illegal immigrant of the United States, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whom, at least at first, though Senator Van Hollen of Maryland suggested there was no evidence of being a member of MS-13.
Whether or not he's actually in MS-13, you said you know what his answer is. But how do you know if you did not ask him?
Well, because I know what he's said many times in court, and that's the proper forum for debating this. And as we know, the federal district court judge in this case said, and I brought it with me again, and I'm going to read it, no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or to any terrorist activity, period. That has been what Abrego Garcia has been telling the court. And I would ask you, Caitlin, really, if I'd come back and said, oh, I asked him if he was an MS-13, and he said, no, he wasn't. I mean,
has now, according to documents released by the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security from various law enforcement agencies around the country, and photographs of MS-13 symbology on Garcia's knuckles, has made a pretty fair argument that this individual is in fact a member of MS-13. Senator Van Hollen, however, didn't quite know how to pivot away from this on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday. Check it out.
Police report suggesting he's a member of MS-13. Details about a restraining order from his wife, who ultimately dropped the matter, and a police report in which an officer said he suspected Mr. Abrego Garcia may have been involved in human trafficking. Now, he's never been charged with a crime, but is his past complicating the broader argument that you are trying to make here about due process?
well, what Donald Trump is trying to do is change the subject. Let's make no bones about that, right? This subject is that the Trump administration is ignoring a Supreme Court order. 4 Democrat representatives from the House made the trip down to El Salvador on the 21st. These include Representative Robert Garcia of California, Max Frost of Florida, whom Bernie Sanders appeared on stage with at Coachella. I know that many of you listening were very hip to what was going on at that particular music festival. Representative Yasamin Ansari from Arizona and Representative Maxine Dexter from Oregon. Representative Dexter threatened that she would stay in El Salvador until Kilmar Abrego Garcia was set free.
This is not just a threat to all people in the United States who could be illegally abducted, detained, and transported internationally against their will, but it is a fact that our president does not recognize the branches of government and the balances of power. This is what we all have been calling a constitutional crisis, yet it is more severe than anything we've seen. We cannot stay silent. We must stay loud. I am here because I refuse to wait for something to happen. We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
While many Democrats are trying to shift away from the subject of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his extremely troubled past of alleged domestic abuse and gang affiliation, some Democrats are not quite ready to move on just yet. These include individuals like David Hogg, the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee.
They've got no message. They've got no movement. They've got no leader. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. I mean, you're defending Harvard. You're traveling to El Salvador for MS-13 gang members. But here's the point. You're taking $20 million. If I'm looking at someone, my vice chair of the RNC, taking $20 million for another effort, it's $20 million out of the DNC's pocket. You can't be on the board of the Fishing and Forest Company and on Greenpeace at the same time. There are places for groups to hold the party accountable. I think it's right.
Yeah, let me push back against that. This was not an MS-13 gang member, and you damn well know that.
Oh, come on.
He was not.
Okay,
and
so keep defending this guy.
The administration admitted this was wrong. In America, we have due process, and we are a land of law and order. We are a land of law and order, and this administration is repeatedly showing time and time again they do not care about what the Supreme Court says. They do not care about the rule of law, and you cannot defend sending people to another country.
Just did a poll
to another country where they don't have
Americans
rights.
Think that all illegal immigrants should be deported, by the way. So you're losing your effort. So if you want to try to defend the constitutionality of deporting a illegal immigrant that's here.
He checked in with immigration services every single year.
He's here illegally. The Intel community, every Intel community agency and the White House say he is a member of MS-13.
Reince. Okay, Reince.
And that's not the only case on the left of the young and the restless. Elizabeth Warren was also in the crosshairs on a podcast after she was asked a little bit about her cover-up of the mental decline of former President Joe Biden during his term in office.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Okay.
Before you go, head down to the description and make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast. And join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the Health and Human Services ban on red dye and other petroleum-based dyes in American food, as well as loan payment collection beginning yet again regarding student loans. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.